Hi everyone, this is Anatole, and this is my review of Neon Genesis Evangelion, episode number 19. Two titles, A Man's Battle and Introjection. My general thoughts on this episode, the events of the episode previous are dealt with in this episode, and the fallout from it changes the status quo quite dramatically. And I felt that in general the episode handled the main storyline of Shinji quite well, but it also managed to deal with the subplots of some of the other characters with enough depth, just enough, touched on them lightly enough that we could see where the character development was going, so that even though the main focus throughout the episode was on Shinji, we could see, for example, what was going to happen with Toji and Rei. And when Rei was left on a big cliffhanger, I'm still not certain what happened to her. It looked like perhaps that she had died. We didn't see a body, so I'm going to follow the rules of comic book logic. If you don't see a body, they're not dead. And if you do see a body, there's still a good chance they're not dead. So now that I've given my sort of brief overview, let's go over the plot. Plot provided courtesy of Eva Wiki, and I'll link to that in the description below. It has a Creative Commons level 3, which means as long as I get proper attribution, then it's fine for me to refer to that. Plot summary. In the aftermath of the battle with the angel-infected Eva 3, Shinji is enraged that his father attempted to kill Toji, whom he now knows was trapped in the entry plug throughout the incident. Shinji refuses to leave the Eva and even threatens to destroy NERV headquarters on his remaining battery power. Gendo just coldly orders the bridge personnel to knock him unconscious by increasing the LCL pressure inside the plug. And whatever sympathy or maybe empathy that we built up with Gendo in previous episodes, because we had seen some sort of rapprochement between him and Shinji, that's definitely between these last two episodes. It's been lost to us, the viewers. Toji wakes up in the hospital with Shinji sleeping in the bed next to his. Toji goes back to sleep and he has a vision of Shinji and Rei on a train talking about Gendo's behavior. Now, this is a little confusing to me, this dream sequence, because I think us, the viewers, are meant to take it at face value that that's what's really happened, but then that is a premonition and not a dream. Since when did Toji get the ability to get these flashes of what's really occurring? And if it's just a dream, why are you showing us this if it's not really the reality? Maybe it's his own subconscious giving him a flash into the feelings of others? A quite confusing dream sequence. When he wakes up again, Shinji is gone, and Hikari is at his side instead. She tells him he has been asleep for 3 days after the incident. So this is a serious advancement of the plot between Toji and Hikari. We've seen a sort of simmering romance between them. Without approaching the subject directly, Toji indicates that he is aware of her feelings for him, and he asks her to tell his sister that he is okay. From the shot, it's evident that Toji's left leg has been amputated, so I think that's the end of his piloting any Eva, and he's paid quite the price. Shinji is brought into his father's office in handcuffs, where he's charged with various offenses against NERV. It's quite jarring to see Shinji in handcuffs. What was once a hero has now become the villain. Threatening, intimidation, insubordination, and use of an Eva for personal vendettas. Shinji coldly responds by saying he will never pilot again and goes back to living with his teacher. Gendo tells him he's disappointed in him, but we don't really care about your disappointment at this point, because you've proven you don't care for Shinji except for his expedience to your plot, and we're still not quite sure if I'm not sure if he has the best interest of Tokyo 3 at heart, or if there's some ulterior motive beyond that he's serving. In response, Gendo decides to delete his files and reassign Rei as the pilot of Eva 1 with the dummy plug as a backup, and that seems like a move of desperation. I just don't see how Rei will ever pilot Eva 1 because they've never synchronized. Meanwhile, the Angel having been killed along with Eva, the remains of Eva 3 are dissolved. Misato drives Shinji to the train station. This reminds me of episode, it's either 4 or 5, when Shinji gives up being a pilot and goes to a train station. We're getting a definite mirror in this episode. From the fact that Asuka has refused to show up to say goodbye, Shinji guesses that she is angry with him for quitting and says it's probably better that way. Misato warns him that his activities will be closely monitored from here on out, but Shinji replies he doesn't care, he just has one question for her. Why was Toji chosen as the fourth child? Misato tells him the truth, that all of his classmates are potential pilots, and Toji's selection and what happened to him was, in a sense, just terrible circumstance. So that was one of the big surprises this episode, that the whole class are potential pilots for Eva's. And I really liked that development, because it takes what seemed to be circumstantial, that you could get all these pilots from the same class for Eva's, and turns it into design. It's part of the design of the classroom, that all those students could be potential Eva pilots. So I always prefer character motivation over circumstance to forward the plot. The characters design that event to happen rather than it just being chance. Always better for me. She tells him that she will leave his room and go to the headquarters as they were, but Shinji resolutely says that there's no point. He will never want to pilot an Eva again. This is just kind of what he decided in episode 4? Yeah, it's episode 4, Rain After Running Away. Surprised by his conviction, Misato lets Shinji leave. However, a state of emergency is declared. As soon as he reaches the train station, a new angel is approaching. The angel Zeruel approaches Tokyo 3 from the air. Zeruel, probably saying that wrong. And I looked up the meaning, and it means the hand of God. Missile batteries fire at Zeruel to no avail, and Zeruel responds with a weapon that destroys 18 of the 22 armor layers above the geofront. That's pretty heavy-duty damage. This aggressive and extremely destructive new enemy gives NERV very little time to prepare a counterattack. Rei is sent to pilot Eva 01, but the Eva rejects her immediately. So much for that plan. Attempts to activate it with the dummy system also fail. Meanwhile, Shinji watches as Zeruel sets off multiple cross-shaped explosions and questions his decision not to pilot again. And that is exactly like episode 3, when Toji and his friend, when Shinji pilots the Eva and encounters Toji and his friend who are hiding from the angel attack. So lots of echoes to earlier in the season in this episode. Zeruel finally breaks through to the geofront where Asuka has been stationed. She is surrounded by a wide array of weaponry that has been randomly piled around her. Eva 2 sprays Zeruel with 2 pallet rifles, but to no effect. Becoming exasperated, Asuka grabs 2 new weapons and fires rocket after rocket at the angel. These battle scenes are very, very well paced, very tightly paced, and as usual, the angel is just different enough from all the others that doesn't feel routine at all. After the barrage, Zeruel extends its foil-like appendages and severs both of Eva 2's arms with ease. Asuka screams in pain and anger and charges Zeruel, who promptly decapitates Unit 2. Fortunately, the command center has cut Asuka's synchronization rate with her Eva. Asuka does not receive any sympathetic injuries. The head of Eva 2 lands right in the middle of the bunker that Shinji is. And that's another echo to episode 3, I believe, when Shinji's Eva crashes into the shelter where Toji is. As the angel moves forward toward NERV headquarters, Shinji watches the battle rage on from a distance when he spots a familiar face. Such a juxtaposition when we see Kaji there in the garden while there's the battle in the background going on around him. Along with Kaji, Shinji watches the battle rage before him, and this scene shows us how Kaji has grown to be the substitute father figure for Shinji. Rei follows Asuka's charge with a suicide attack, attempting to destroy the angel's core with an N2 bomb. The angel covers its core with an armored membrane and it survives the explosion completely unhurt. I don't think we see at all what happens to Rei, so like I mentioned at the top of the program, we can assume that there's a chance that she's died. I think she's still alive because we haven't seen a body. The explosion puts Eva completely out of action, but Zeruel proceeds to stab it in the head anyways. Kaji explains to Shinji that if an angel makes contact with Adam in the terminal dogma below, third impact is going to happen. It will mean the end of humanity. Now we get all this Christian imagery, and I'm wondering if there isn't supposed to be some sort of reference to Lucifer, like falling from the sky and going at war with God. If we can't see Gendo being that Lucifer, I think I'd mused before in one of my reactions is if there isn't going to be some sort of reversal, and the people who pretend to be acting on the side of good, namely Gendo, aren't really on the side of bad, and if the angels who are attacking aren't really the side of good. The name that they're given the angels implies that they're on the side of good, but due to the revelation we get at the end of the episode that these Evas are really alive, maybe the angels are trying to free them in some way. It's all quite convoluted where this plot may be going. Kaji says he is powerless to do anything about it, and Shinji, as a pilot, is the only one left who can make a difference. Shinji takes in his words and makes a decision. He determinedly heads for the Eva cage. With both Evas defeated and Eva 01, should just say Eva 1, still refusing a dummy plug, NERV nearly succumbs to the dire situation he's been placed in. At the last second, Shinji barges in, demands to pilot Eva 1. It's a very tense scene. Zeruel damages the top of the command pyramid and breaks into the control room, prepared to obliterate the unfortunate bridge personnel. Now, I knew that there was no way that this angel was going to destroy Tokyo 3 or NERV, but I almost had doubts. So it's the suspense of the scene is played well enough that at least I held a moment of doubt whether that would happen. A second before the angel releases its charge-up attack, Eva 1 breaks through into the observation room and lands a terrific punch into Zeruel's face. Wrestling with the angel, Shinji slams Zeruel through the opposite wall and into an Evangelion cage. Evangelion, let me say Jellion. In the ensuing battle, Eva 1's left arm is shot off by a beam from Zeruel. Before any more serious damage can occur, Shinji forces Zeruel onto a launch pad and manually activates it. That's a very exciting sequence. Shinji and the angel are launched into the geofront, where Shinji proceeds to maniacally hammer at Zeruel's core with its remaining arm. Again, that reminds me of episode 3. In his rage, Shinji grabs Zeruel's mask, pulling at it so hard that the flesh holding onto the angel's face is exposed. At that moment, there's a loud resounding beep. The Evangelion has run out of power. So again, playing out the suspense of the scene. Just when it looks like he's going to win, then the tide turns. Zeruel wraps an arm around the unit's head, hoisting it aloft before hurling it into the HQ. Zeruel makes an initial cut into the Eva's chest armor before blasting it with another powerful beam. The chest armor is melted off, and we see the Evangelion 1 has a core. Zeruel begins to pound on the core in an attempt to penetrate it. Shinji inside sees the core cracking and begs and pleads with the Eva 1 to move. Suddenly, before Zeruel can deliver the final blow, Shinji hears a heart beating in the distance. Outside, the Eva reactivates, so him yelling, just go, 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 that's all very good, very suspenseful, and brings us to the climax of the episode. Maya and Ritsuko receive readings that Shinji has 400% synchronization with the Eva, but Ritsuko realizes that this means that he is no longer in true control of the Eva. It has gone berserk. Grabbing Zeruel's arm, Eva 1 yanks the angel towards it. The unit breathes heavily for several moments before giving Zeruel a mighty kick, strong enough to rip Zeruel's left arm from its body. Unit 1 uses the arm to regenerate her own. I was surprised to see that when it happened, before launching her own attack against the angel. After laying it out on the ground with an immensely powerful AT field attack, Unit 1 devours the crippled angel in order to ingest its S2 engine. At this point, it's a living creature and it's acting like it's feral. A wounded Ritsuko explains the implications of this, telling Misato that it means they are no longer able to stop the Eva, and we have to wonder about what's happened to Shinji. If the Eva is in control, is Shinji a mere host at this point? Elsewhere, Kaji looks on the scene from afar in grim amusement, wondering to himself how Gendo is going to explain all of this to Seal. In his office, Gendo, along with Fuyutsuki, observe the scene. Smiling triumphantly, Gendo declares that it all begins here. So that is a hint that this is part of his greater plan, and he's used his son and brought him intentionally to this point where he would merge with an Eva, and the Eva would become not just a mecha unit, but a sentient being. And so why? What is the plan for Gendo at this point? And that's it for the plot summary. And so my final thoughts are now that we've hit the end of, I think, the middle part of the storyline, I'm guessing because so much of the status quo has changed, we're getting into the end run of the series. So I'm curious where this is going to go, and I can't even really predict. I'm at a loss. The twist of this episode caught me off guard, and I'm not even willing to speculate. So I hope you'll join me next episode when I will review episode 20 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is Anatole. Until next time, take care and be well.